Alright, I want to talk about a Final Fantasy game that I don't think gets enough love. Everyone is so busy drilling over 6, 7, 8, and 10 that Final Fantasy 9 gets left out in the cold. There are a lot of important things about it, but I want to talk about my favorite part, the opening segment. First I'm going to go over everything that happens in it, and then I'm going to go into why it's awesome. Ready? Good. The opening shot is of a ship in troubled waters. On the ship there are two women, one of which appears to be a child. Things look bad, but then it's revealed it's all a dream. The girl having the dream is the Princess of Alexandria, Garnet. She walks to her window and looks out longingly. Coming into the kingdom is a giant airship that pretty much puts all other airships to shame. Badass. On the ship is a boy with a tail. This is Zidane. He enters a dark room looking for his boss and finds 3 of his comrades, Marcus, Cinna, and Blank, but there is no sign of their leader. Then a man with a dragon head bursts through the door and they promptly kick his ass. The mask breaks and the man wearing it is none other than their boss, Baku. Their meeting begins and it is revealed that they plan to capture the princess. Original. Under the guise of the Tantalus Theater Company, they will give a performance of I Want to Be Your Canary, Gaia's version of Romeo and Juliet. When everyone is distracted by the performance, Zidane and Blank will sneak into her chambers, give her a sleeping potion, and take her from the castle. The plan seems solid, but the one thing I know about heists is they never go as intended. Inside the city, everyone is bustling in the streets excited for the performance by the Tantalus Theater Company. Among them is a boy in a pointed hat, Vivi. He's a klutz. Vivi has a ticket for the show and starts heading toward the booth. On his way, he gets the opportunity to meet a variety of people in the city. There's this rat kid that no matter how much you try to avoid him, he'll run into you. This walking and talking hippo named Paul, which begs the question if every humanoid hippo has a pun in their name or if his parents are just real assholes. And these girls jumping rope that ask Vivi to join them. But it turns out that jumping rope is pretty hard. When Vivi finally does get to the booth, it is revealed that his ticket was a fake. Dejected, he walks into a back alley where he runs into the rat kid again. The kid tells him he knows a way to get Vivi into the show, but in return, Vivi must become his slave. Despite being opposed to entering such a bleak contract, it's the only way to progress, so Vivi agrees. That show better be good. The rat kid, whose name turns out to be Puck, steals a ladder and they make their way to the performance by way of the rooftops. The airship, which doubles as a stage, pulls into port and the show begins. Here we are introduced to the queen, Braun. It's pretty clear now that Princess Garnet is either adopted or that she's gonna have a pretty rough time of it when she hits her 30s. Standing behind them is the leader of the Knights of Pluto, Steiner. He has weird eyelashes. The first act gets underway and in it there's a battle between the romantic lead Marcus, played by Marcus, and his lover's father, King Leo, played by Baku. An on-stage battle ensues with drama, stunning combat, and even special effects. Nice touch. The battle ends and King Leo runs away. In character, Zidane tries to go after him, but Blank stops him, saying that peace will come across the land if the king's daughter marries someone else. They have a sword fight and depending on the performance, the crowd will either be underwhelmed or demand an encore. Don't mind if I do. After their sword fight, Zidane and Blank rush off stage and liberate a few uniforms from some unsuspecting Knights of Pluto. They arrive at the princess's chambers when a woman in a white hood comes rushing out. Zidane questions her for a moment, but then she runs away. Knowing the woman in the white hood is actually Princess Garnet, Zidane and Blank make chase after her. Sensing something is awry, the court jesters Zorn and Thorn go to warn the queen that the princess is in danger. Their gag is they repeat what the other one says, but one says it like Yoda would, which isn't annoying at all. They report to the queen's guard Beatrix, who orders Steiner to retrieve the princess. He frantically searches the castle for her, assembling various Knights of Pluto to aid him in his search. They range from cowardly to lazy to womanizery, a great bunch. After climbing a ridiculously long set of spiral stairs, Steiner sees the princess being chased around a tower by Zidane. She jumps from the tower and grabs a streamer to swing over to the airship. Zidane follows her and so does Steiner, but with a little less luck. Once in the airship with Zidane, Garnet reveals her true identity and asks him to kidnap her. Well, that's convenient. Steiner continues to pursue the pair, and after some hijinks, they all end up on stage. Now wanting to blow their cover, they play along with the show. Garnet picks up the role of the king's daughter and Marcus's love, Cornelia. The pair embrace and ask the king to allow them to marry. He refuses, and in a fit of rage, Marcus draws a sword and makes to murder the king, but at the last second the princess steps in front of the blade because despite everything she still loves her father. This whole time Steiner's too petrified by stage fright to move and doesn't seem to grasp that everything happening is part of the play. Meanwhile, Vivi and Puck move closer to the performance for a better view. However, a few Knights of Pluto see them and make chase. They run onto the stage and in a panic Vivi shoots a fireball at the Knights. In typical Klutz fashion, he misses and ignites the princess's hood on fire, forcing her to throw it off and reveal to everyone now now her true identity. A battle ensues between Steiner and the kidnappers, which ends with him being wounded. Knowing that they've overstayed their welcome, Baku heads to the pilot's cabin to make their escape. Not wanting them to get away, the Queen orders to shoot the airship with a bunch of grappling hooks. It does a lot of damage, but somehow the ship stays afloat. In a last-ditch effort, the Queen opens a cannon from behind her that shoots a giant fireball. It seems like the ship is lost, but then it pulls away from the explosion and no one is harmed. After escaping Alexandria, the ship loses steam and crashes into a forest. This is where I consider the opening segment to end and the real journey to begin. So what makes it so special? First off, it provides a safe environment to learn combat. Most of the battles are for show, which lowers the stakes, but the battles serve a greater purpose in completing the heist, which raises them again. It's a good balance between not being afraid to experiment with combat while still having each battle feel important. The intro also does a great job with setting up the world that the game takes place in. Based off the weapons, the city, and the giant airship, it is clear that this game is closer to the high fantasy roots of Final Fantasy than the previous few titles in the series. Everyone has their own preference, but I lean toward the old-timey fantasy vibe opposed to the futuristic with spaceships sort of, but the most important thing the intro does is set the tone for an interesting story with multiple compelling characters. While Zidane seems to be the main protagonist, by being able to also control Vivi and Steiner, it shows that their stories are equally as important. Most RPGs with a big cast of characters stick you in just one of them, and if you ever move around to someone else, it feels foreign. Here, right off the bat, we are shown that the story will be told from multiple points of view and that each character's perspective will put an interesting spin on the story. It adds a dynamic that a lot of RPGs don't have, which is characters in your party with different and, more importantly, opposing goals. By experiencing the intro from different characters' perspectives, it blurs the line between right and wrong. While playing as Zidane, it is clear that Steiner is an antagonist, but when playing as Steiner, the opposite is true. Both are the hero of their own story, which makes them interesting. Perspective is important, and maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for A Song of Ice and Fire, but using multiple points of view to tell a story, especially a fantasy story of this magnitude, seems to be the best approach. This intro sets the tone and plot for the entire story in an interesting and unique way. Experiencing the chaos of the day from multiple perspectives increases the scope of the story in a very efficient way. My one complaint is you don't play as Garnet in this introduction, which is weird because she becomes a party member and is a very important part of the story. Anyway, the introduction to Final Fantasy IX is one of my favorite in the series and really in all of video games. It was memorable, unique, and executed almost to perfection. If you've never played Final Fantasy IX, I definitely recommend playing the entire game, but at the very least, check out the first hour because it's an awesome ride. I'm Razbuten, and thanks for watching.